Palantir, it's that time again, because Palantir is making some major moves lately and people have not been talking about it. So I thought, you know what? It's about time. It's time we do a video on Palantir, talk about how it could potentially reach a $1 trillion market cap, how it could go all the way up to $527 per share, and how I'm extremely bullish on it. In today's video, we're first gonna go over how Palantir is actually sandbagging a lot of their numbers. They're downplaying their growth projections by far. And we're gonna go over a hidden clue that shows exactly why this is the case. After that, we're gonna go over Palantir, how they recently announced 3 major contracts worth up to $150 million. These are major deals with the government organizations, with a number of different companies. And then at the end of the video, we're gonna go over exactly how Palantir can get to a $1 trillion market cap. So if you don't already have the public.com investing app, make sure to go ahead and follow me on that. You could buy stocks, you can sell stocks, and you can also see exactly what I am buying and selling in real time, as well as an entire portfolio breakdown. You just think of the app like an investing app combined with social media. It's completely free to follow me, doesn't cost a penny, and if you download the app, use the code Michael, well then you'll be able to get up to $50 in a free stock. But anyways, right now, Palantir, the data analytics driven company, has 3 main softwares. Many people already know these, but these are the Palantir Gotham, Palantir Foundry, and Palantir Apollo softwares. Currently, Palantir, in my opinion, is sandbagging growth projections, and we have a very interesting article that talks about this as well. They go into deep dive into exactly what's going on. So after Palantir stock has dropped about 50% from all-time highs earlier in the year, back in January 2021, now is actually a very good time to get into this stock. In my opinion, I've been adding a lot to my positions. I really like this stock, and for a couple of different reasons. First of all, with these growth projections, these numbers, Palantir, they grew 49% year over year in Q1 of 2021. They had $341 million across government and commercial segments, and that's above the 45% revenue growth that was previously projected. So they had 49% was their growth year over year versus 45, which was projected. In addition to this, according to a recent Palantir business update presentation, in Q4, they explained how their revenue outlook for the future for 2025 is $4 billion. You can see that in the green right here, $4 billion or more by 2025. However, in this report, it also explains how they expect to grow at 30% year over year for the next 4 years. And this is important because if you just do simple math, you look at the numbers, you say, okay, 30% a year, 2021, let's say 800 million, then you go to 1.04 billion. If you just grow 30% every year, it brings you by 2025 to $2.3 billion in revenue. That is nowhere near what they are conservatively projecting. They're saying $4 billion or more. So based on that alone, they're saying, you know what, we're gonna have $4 billion or more in revenue by 2025. That would mean they have to be growing at least 50% year over year. You see, if you just do simple math, 50% year over year brings us right to $4 billion in revenue by 2025. And I think they are being very conservative with their growth rates, very conservative with their revenues, as we are already seeing them get more and more contracts, $100 million contracts. And you gotta remember, with Palantir, every single time they sign a contract, all of these are long-term deals that usually are multi-year agreements. They did start recently accepting shorter-term deals, but for the most part, most of their contracts are long-term deals that are gonna generate recurring revenue for years to come for the company. And the first one I do wanna go over is that they just signed a $33 million contract with the Space Force. This is a big deal. Palantir has a lot of different contracts with government organizations. That makes up a large portion of their business. And some people have criticized this. Some people have said it's a bad thing. I think it's great news that they have major, like most of their business comes from the government, because you got to think, if a data analytics company is doing business for the government, first of all, that means that other businesses, they're going to trust Palantir to handle their data. If the US government, special forces, Space Force, if all of these different government organizations trust Palantir with their data, I'm sure smaller companies will trust them as well. So that's the first thing I think is good about it. The second thing is, if the government is using Palantir, they have a lot of data integrated into the platform. Are they going to try and use other systems as well? No, they're going to try and keep all of their data on a couple different platforms. Obviously, they're not going to only use Palantir, but it wouldn't be smart for them to have, to go onto Palantir and then switch to another platform. It's best that if they like the platform, just to continue working with Palantir and continue to grow and expand these contracts. And that's what we're seeing. The government doesn't change, companies they're doing with a lot, but when they find one they like, especially with data, they're going to push with it, continue to grow, continue to expand. And we are seeing this. This was a fixed contract, which was $32.5 million. And it was to provide software to the critical missions of the Department of the Air Force Space and Missile Systems Center, Cross Mission Ground, and Communications Enterprise. So they have they had this $32.5 million, $33 million contract fixed. This is, just one in many government contracts they have. According to Colonel Jennifer Krolkowski, she said that I'm excited about this partnership and the work we are doing to provide better data-driven decision making to our leadership. Palantir's technology and framework has truly accelerated our ability to remove data stovepipes throughout the community and create actionable knowledge. You gotta think, data is important no matter what company you're in, whether you're selling flowers, whether you're selling honey online, whether you're a software company, whether you're the government. Everyone wants to use data to make their business better, to become more efficient, make better decisions. It doesn't matter. You want to figure out what customers, like your peanut butter, you can use data to figure that out. If you want to see, what's the best way to distribute a vaccine, areas that might need it most first, use data to figure that out. So that's the first contract. Second one is Palantir bagged a $7.4 million contract renewal for the CDC for disease monitoring and outbreak response. So this is a one-year contract renewal. They've already been working with the CDC with the pandemic, and they're going to continue to provide an outbreak response and disease surveillance solution for the data collation and integration for public health event response. This is important. We're seeing that one of the most sensitive issues right now with the pandemic, with COVID-19, they are working closely with government organizations to help distribute vaccines, monitor outbreaks, and respond to them. This is important. This shows that they have a lot of trust in Palantir. While $7.4 million isn't a large contract, it just shows how much the government trusts Palantir, how much they like the work they've done, because they keep renewing contracts. And last contract, before we get into how it can get to $1 trillion market cap, is that Palantir signed one of the biggest contracts they have in the last 2 weeks, which was a $111 million contract with the United States Special Operations Command. This is huge. People who are saying, government contracts, like I said before, are not a big deal. They're huge. In my opinion, they give so much validity, so much sense of security for other companies working with them. It just is a great sign. They're continuing to grow these government contracts. This contract is $111 million, and according to Doug Philippone, Palantir's global defense lead, he said, when special operators are risking their lives in no-fail scenarios, they deserve technology that works. Our partnership with them was one of the first in the US military, and we are honored to keep providing technology that gets the job done while we partner on the future of what is possible. They've already had contracts with Special Ops, with Space Force, with the military, with the Air Force. They are so deeply integrated into the US government that, in my opinion, it is, as the government spending for defense continues to go up every single year, Palantir is going to get a large portion of that. Think about this. $111 million seems like a lot of money, and it is. But in terms of government spending, government every year on defense spending spends $714 billion. So $111 million contract is nothing. Every single year, we're seeing defense spending grow. 2020, it was $714. 2021 is projected to be $733 billion. So when we're talking about $111 million contracts to a company like Palantir, that's huge. But to the US government, really not so much at all. And I think as we continue to see government spending increase, we're going to continue to see Palantir grow and expand like we're already seeing, and gain more and more contracts with the US government. Now let's talk about how Palantir can actually achieve a $1 trillion market cap, bringing the price up to $527 per share. First of all, right now, Palantir, their business is made up of two different portions of revenue, their commercial segment and the government segment. Right now, the government segment makes up a much larger portion than commercial. Government segment in Q1 of 2021 grew by 76% to $208 million. And on the other hand, commercial revenues were at $133 million and grew 19% year over year. So their government portion of their business is larger and growing faster. So both of those things alone, you know, it's a larger portion of their business. It's growing faster. It's just separating the commercial and government businesses even more. But either way, they still are both growing. To say that commercial was growing slowly would be an understatement. Commercial business is still growing at 19% year over year. Still makes up a large portion of their revenue, but still majority comes from the government. Either way though, the important thing to keep in mind with Palantir reaching a $1 trillion market cap is right now, they have an enormous room to run with their revenues in terms of government contracts, because right now their government revenue does not even make up a mere 10 basis points of total US defense spending. And that's important. Like I said, the US government spends over $700 billion every single year on defense, and Palantir makes up such a small portion of that, So assuming that the total addressable market grows in line with inflation, which is 3% per year, which is, you know, very small. I would say that is very, very conservative. Saying the data analytics industry is only going to grow 3% year over year, that total addressable market's only going to go 3% a year, that's very low. But assuming that for over the next 20 years, by the end of that period, Palantir would have captured 50% of the total US government addressable market and 20% of the rest of its Gotham addressable market. That would bring its revenues for the US government to $23.5 billion and Gotham revenues by $12.5 billion. So this projection is, you know, a decade, 2 decades down the line, but it's still saying Palantir could be a $1 trillion data analytics company simply if it follows the same exact path that it's already on, the same path in terms of growth every single year and how big their government portion of their business is and how big their commercial portion of their business is. And finally, last thing I do want to go over is that they have been growing their commercial portion of their business very rapidly. People are saying, you know, this is such a small portion of their business, it's not growing. They're growing this very rapidly. They have partnerships with IBM, Faurecia, which is one of the leading automotive technology companies. They have partnerships with 3M. They are in so many major corporations, Fortune 500 companies, and for that reason, like I said, even with the government, once you have a data analytics company that's helping you with your business and you have a lot of your data, a lot of your decisions are made from that platform, which is Palantir, are you going to be switching so many times to new platforms? No. If you like the platform, which many businesses seem to like it, they keep renewing contracts. And if you like the platform you're using for data analytics, you're just going to keep with that for years and years to come and grow and expand how much you're spending with them and, you know, further develop your partnership. So in that reason alone, I think Palantir is going to continue to see a massive acceleration in their commercial business, continue to see government contracts grow exponentially, which we are seeing every single year. And I think we're going to continue to see them beat expectations in terms of growth numbers, revenue, sales, and everything else like that. So that's what's going on with Palantir. One of my favorite stocks out there. I've owned it for a long time. You can see on public.com investing app that I have owned this stock for a while. But let me know what you guys think of it.